we've learned a lot. So, but I haven't. I mean, at this point, if I was in your position, maybe it's something so I don't have any about what would be the merits of the promissory estoppel. But it sounds like I just wanted to touch base. We'll see what happens.
Good evening, everyone. We're here for City Council meeting tonight, just in case you were looking for another meeting. It's Monday, July 2nd, 2018. We'll start this meeting with a roll call and determination of quorum.
Scott, Drew, Nordstrom, Modrick, Solomon, Lewis, Armstrong, Laurenti, Drury, Roberts. We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. And now we'll have an invocation by Pastor Judy Miller, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Almighty God, our Heavenly Father, send down upon those who hold office in this city of Rapid City Council the spirit of wisdom, charity, and justice, that they with steadfast purpose they may faithfully serve in their offices to promote the well-being of all people. Almighty and merciful God, we remember before you all poor and neglected persons whom it would be easy for us to forget, the homeless and the destitute, the old and the sick, and all who have none to care for them. Help us to heal those who are broken in body or spirit, and to turn their sorrow into joy. Grant this, Father, O Father of mercies and God of all comfort, our only help in time of need. We humbly beseech thee to behold, visit, and relieve thy sick servants, especially those on dialysis that are having trouble with transportation to that dialysis and back, for whom our prayers are desired. Look upon them with the eyes of thy mercy. Comfort them with a sense of thy goodness. Preserve them from the temptations of the enemy, and give them patience under their affliction. In thy good time restore them to health and enable them to lead the residue of their lives in thy fear and to thy glory. And grant that finally they may dwell with thee in life everlasting. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. And now we're on to the adoption of the agenda. This is a time when the council can accept the agenda as written or make changes. And before we have a motion, I'd like to ask the council to move item 40, the Elevate Rapid City presentation, up right immediately following item 5.
I move to.
Okay, motion by Lewis and a second by Solomon. And
Nice to meet you.
any other changes? Okay, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So I'm going to step down in front for a recognition. Kurt? Well, it's a pleasure to get to recognize long-term city employees, people who have been coming to work in the same building and providing service to the citizens year after year. Tonight we have a 25-year recognition to Kurt. So I'll turn it over to the Ken Young, the Community Development Director.
Okay, so it's with pleasure that I stand here to recommend recognition and honor, if you will, to Kurt Bechtel, who has served for 25 years with the Community Development Department, currently known as, and has served in many capacities and also now as Plans Examiner for the city. I've only been here a short time, but I have noticed and have heard from others good reports of Kurt's ability to work well with people and is very good in customer service-oriented type service in the department. So with that, I'd just like to let you also recognize his 25 years of service with the city with a round of applause.
Thanks a lot, and Brad, my cohort there and stuff, he's told me I'm not supposed to really say anything. They keep me behind the counter and that type of stuff. No, been 25 years and it's mostly fun.
Sorry for all the pain we put you through.
Okay, now it's time for the City Council to elect its officers. It's been a year since the officers have been elected. Jason Solomon has served as Council President for the past year, and Chad Lewis as Council Vice President for the past year. So it's customary to elect new officers every year, and so we would start that by entertaining nominations for the office of President. Jason Solomon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I nominate Amanda Scott for president, please.
Second.
Okay, second by Modrick. Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations for president? Okay. Are you sure? No. Seeing no other nominations, then that means Amanda Scott is elected the new City Council President. Congratulations. Now for the office of, I keep wanting to say Student Council, but for the office of City Council Vice President. Are there nominations? Amanda Scott.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make the nomination for Becky Drury for Vice President.
Okay, second by John Roberts. Are there other nominations for Vice President? Any other nominations for Vice President? Okay, seeing none, then I guess we have a short election ceremony here where Becky Drury is our new Vice President. Congratulations. Wow. Yeah, let's leave it. Okay, now on to presentations. Starting with item number 4, presentation from the Rapid City Chamber of Commerce.
Does this work?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yes, it will.
Good evening. My name is Jim White, and I'm the chair of the board of the Rapid City Area Chamber of Commerce. And on behalf of Linda Raby and her whole staff and our entire board of directors of the Chamber of Commerce, we thought it would be appropriate to say thank you to Mayor Allender and to the City Council for the outstanding job you did in putting together the plan for helping us move forward in our city and build a new civic arena at our Rapid City Civic Center campus. So we thought it very appropriate. Linda found a poem written by Theodore Roosevelt, and if you'll indulge me, I'd like to read it because we believe this to be very appropriate for the last year and a half effort that has gone into that. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust, sweat, and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while doing greatly. So that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who knew neither victory nor defeat. That's by Theodore Roosevelt. And we think it's so appropriate, the work that you guys put in, certainly Mayor Allender, what you've done in the past year and a half to move this forward. And on behalf of the Rapid City Area Chamber of Commerce, all of its members, its board of directors, and its staff, we'd like to say thank you and present this to you. I didn't see anybody with their camera out.
Is Daryl not here?
Come on up.
Okay, I'll take him.
Or in between.
This meeting came to a halt.
Robert, you stand over there. I was against this dog over here.
Well, thank you for that. And next on the agenda is item number 5, the library strategic plan update.
Mayor, council members,
My name is Faye Bice, and I am the chair of the Rapid City Public Library Board of Trustees. I am here tonight with fellow board members Casey Martin and Pat Jones, along with Library Director Terry Davis. Historically, the Library Board has presented our strategic plan to the mayor and the council, and we are pleased to be here this evening to continue that tradition by sharing our latest strategic plan. The Library Board started the planning process to update the strategic plan in early 2016 and continued into the fall of 2017. An independent consultant facilitated 6 World Cafes, or community forums, to gather information regarding the public's vision for a modern library. Online surveys were also used to do the same. Input was sought from a wide variety of participants, including students, retirees, elected officials, Native American residents, homeschool organizations, and other interested community members. After this information was compiled, library management and staff reviewed the community feedback, identified trends and themes, and correlated the information with the city's core values. Using this analysis, a new strategic plan was created. In February, the Rapid City Public Library Board of Trustees adopted the 2018 to 2020 strategic plan, along with our new mission statement: exploring ideas, expanding knowledge, enriching community. Thank you for your continuing support of the library and for this opportunity to present our strategic plan. Let me introduce my fellow board member and vice chair, Casey Martin, for some additional comments.
Thank you, Faye. My name is Casey Martin. I am the vice chair for the Board of Trustees. I do want to thank you, first off, for the opportunity to come and speak to you tonight. I have served on the Board of Trustees the last 15 months, getting to know the excellent staff, supervisors, and directors that work at our public library. I've also had a front row seat to the behind-the-scenes work of this Focus Forward group. It has been about one thing: community. And that's our second core value on our strategic plan, is community. Community can be defined by Webster's Dictionary as a group of people living in the same place or having a particular characteristic in common. I would rather go with the more broader definition, as the broader definition of community continues to grow, and it's said that it's a feeling of fellowship with others as a result of sharing common attributes, attitudes, interests, and goals. Our library is a direct reflection right now of this great community. I ask that you continue to support it and the strategic plan. Thank you. I'd like to now introduce Mr. Pat Jones, also on the Board of Trustees.
Thank you, Casey. Good evening, Council. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. One of the key pillars of the new strategic plan is education. And as a retired but not former educator, I'd like to go down that road a little bit with you and address some of the important educational elements that our amazing library brings to the table. These are some quotes from library users that have come forward through the website and other areas. One user stated, "I got accepted into college. Thanks for helping me. The library encourages me to try new things and step out of my comfort zone. It helps me grow in new knowledge. My mother and I are pleased with the library's digital collection. I'm thankful that she can access that from home." Talk about a digital community. "Many people, including myself, don't have computer or internet. I'm writing a resume and applying for jobs and want to thank you for your help doing that. The library is like a knowledge buffet," another user said. And there's nothing like a good buffet, right? "Love Rapid City Library. It is the best feature of living in Rapid City." Another user states, "What a great children's area in the library. So educational, so fun, so hands-on. It's a must for all kids to come and experience." Another user says, "I was able to apply for a job. The computer area is my only access to jobs." So when we think of education, we think of our youngest, we think of our school-age kids, we think of adults maybe starting a new career. We think of seniors who are learning new areas. So education has nothing to do with age, but everything to do with growth and how we become better individuals and better citizens of our community. A 7-year-old son, or a mom told us about her 7-year-old son who, given the choice of going to the library or the toy store, chose the library. And I was telling our library director how awesome our library is, how it's actually both, as it enhances kids with hands-on opportunities as well as opportunities to learn. So it's an absolutely wonderful place. And the last area that I'd like to comment on is the essential importance of grade level learning and our kids being at the proper reading level in school. 30 years in education, there's one thing I can guarantee to every person in this room. If a child isn't at grade level for reading and comprehension, their chances of success diminish with every year. The chances of success goes back further and further. Our library is a place where we can make an impact on this as well. So thank you very much for listening to us tonight, and I would like to introduce our library director, Terry Davis.
Good evening. I get to talk about the practicalities now because after the library board adopted this new strategic plan, it's my charge and that of the library staff to make it happen over the next 3 years. Faye mentioned all of the feedback that was received from the community through the World Cafes. And in looking at all that information, there's quite a lot in there that the library already does. People want us to provide ebooks or study rooms or digital collections or Wi-Fi. Well, we already do that and more. So separate and apart from the strategic plan, one of the things we're doing is looking at resource by resource, service by service, how we're presenting that information to the community, because it's clear that what we've been doing in the past hasn't worked well enough. So we're going to refocus and re-strategize how to do that. Again, that's separate and apart from the strategic plan, but that will be worked on in the next several months. With the other data that the community provided to us, we sorted through all of that, and there were lots of comments. And we prioritized that because obviously we can't do it all at once. The priorities, I believe we ended up with 5 levels of priorities. We're working on priorities 1 and 2 right now. It's certainly not a linear process. We're doing a number of these things at once. But the focuses are, as Pat talked about, literacy, education and enrichment, and then we're doing our nod to economic development through a job skills series. The literacy takes place in a variety of ways. We have a collaboration with the Black Hills Literacy Council for adult learners and people who learn as English as a second language. But the focus is on children and early childhood literacy. If you walk into the library any day this summer, you will be bombarded with lots and lots of happy kids. They're reading and they're learning, but they're having fun doing it. So they don't realize they're learning. We're tricky about that. But they are learning, and the goal is when they get back to school, they will either have maintained or advanced their reading level so they don't have to do that catch-up when they get back to school. We are going to be kicking off a couple of other early literacy initiatives, hopefully getting families involved in early literacy up to kindergarten age, and then also understanding the need for continuing reading after that. Also, we're planning to work with our partner library at General Beadle School to do some work to minimize absenteeism. As Pat mentioned, if students don't learn and drop in grade level, it's hard to catch up. It just doesn't happen. And if they're not in school, that learning doesn't happen. So we're going to work and see if we can boost that attendance in the classroom. And finally, we're going to work on improving access to books for kids no matter what. Right now, kids might get overdue fines. If they have fines, they can't check things out. Then it becomes a perpetual cycle. They don't get back to the library. So we're looking at ways that we can reduce or minimize those roadblocks and put the books into the hands of kids where they belong. Education and enrichment, we already do this for all age groups, little kids, teenagers, seniors, families. We have activities such as Lunch and Learn, coding clubs, books to film series, book discussions, of course. but we've been asked to provide more, and I think the things that we've been asked to do are very relevant for the community. Helping people with practical life skills, which I was told is sometimes called adulting. But it's, you know, how do you handle finances? What are the soft skills you need if you're entering a workplace for the first time? The job culture is very different than palling around with your friends. How do you do that? How do you set up your first household? What are the skill sets and the strategies you need to make that successful? We've also been asked to expand on our offerings in Lakota language and culture, so we're certainly looking at doing that and hope to have something coming out, if not later this year, after the first of the next year. And then working with people in enhancing their job skills. This is something we've done for a long time on a one-on-one basis, whether it's helping somebody learn how to use the computer so that they can get into a job, or proofreading their applications and resumes. But we've pulled this all together in a formalized sequence of programs, and we're working with community partners on this, many of whom are my colleagues on the Workforce Development Committee of the Chamber. We're teaching them some of the technological skills they need, whether it's creating an email so they can apply for a job online, or giving them a template so they can create a resume or a cover letter. How do they get their first interview? What do they do when they walk into that interview? We're giving them an opportunity to practice those interviews. And then finally, when they get their first paycheck, or their first paycheck in a long time, or hopefully an enhanced paycheck, how do they manage that so that they build a long-term level of financial success for themselves? So that is all encompassed in that job skills series that has just kicked off in the last couple of weeks. So again, that's our charge for the next, well, 2.5 now years to make all of these wonderful ideas in the strategic plan come to life and better serve the community. And I'll be happy to address questions if I can, and if I can't, I'll get an answer back to you.
Okay, we have a motion to acknowledge by Chad Lewis. Second by Solomon. It's not even Friday. No questions from the council? Okay, all in favor of acknowledging, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Thank you for that presentation. And now we're going to have item 40 next, which is the presentation by Elevate Rapid City. And when you speak at the podium, just please identify yourself.
How do you advance the...
Yeah, this one?
Got it.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is David Lust. I'm a partner at Gunderson Palmer, and I'm here to kick off the presentation on Elevate Rapid City. I am a co-chair along with Jim Skull and David Emery, and if you look from left to right, they put those up in order of attractiveness. So we are going to conclude with the most attractive member of the co-chair triumvirate. So the purpose of our presentation tonight is to give you the background on what Elevate Rapid City is, how far we've come, where we're going, and to ask for your support in this exciting endeavor. A little bit about Elevate. I think the most important thing that distinguishes Elevate Rapid City from previous efforts the community has had regarding economic development is the transparency and the accountability. And the primary purpose of having us present to you tonight is to be transparent so that we can tell you and inform you what Elevate is and what it is not, and answer any questions you may have. So what is Elevate Rapid City? At its heart, it's a joint venture of the Economic Development Partnership, the Economic Development Partnership Foundation, the Chamber, and Ellsworth Authority. And it's a collective effort to improve our economic well-being in this community. Again, it's about accountability and reporting. We who've undertaken this effort feel strongly that we should report to the community about what Elevate has done. This is a 5-year campaign, and to me the most important aspect is to be able to report our successes and to demonstrate not only that this 5 years was successful, that it propel us forward the next 5 years and 5 years after that and 5 years after that. And I'll talk a little bit briefly what Sioux Falls has experienced in that manner. And you'll see amongst this beautiful cohort right here a lot of our prominent business leaders, and they're here to show their support for Elevate, not just by spending time here tonight, but the work they put into the campaign and structure and what this is going to do. It's been an incredible collaborative effort of a lot of significant community members in our business community, and I thank them all for coming here tonight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through the birth of Elevate, the timeline. I'm going to then hand it over to Lawrence and Elizabeth McKinney from Convergent, who are the consultants on this campaign, and they're going to run you through the current status, and then Jim Skull is going to present and conclude, and then we'll be available here for questions. So where have we come from? Where have we come with Elevate Rapid City? So Elevate Rapid City really finds its origin in a 2016 trip by the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors to Sioux Falls for its annual retreat. Each year the Chamber goes to a different location, but in 2016 they chose to go to Sioux Falls and really got a look under the hood at what Sioux Falls has done with their Forward Sioux Falls campaign. And that meeting really was the genesis for Elevate Rapid City. You know, we often, look to Sioux Falls, and some like to compare themselves to Sioux Falls, some do not. But in this arena, Sioux Falls has done a remarkable effort in their economic development through Forward Sioux Falls, which started 30 years ago. So we're a bit behind, but I think we're going to catch up quickly as Elizabeth and Lawrence will inform you of tonight. So in June of 2017, there was a strategic planning workshop held with Atlanta-based CNS Outcomes Lab to determine whether or not we can do that. Can we replicate what Sioux Falls has done? In July, Lawrence and Elizabeth from Convergent came and interviewed 62 members of our community, our business community, nonprofit, the whole spectrum, to determine whether or not this could be done. They delivered in August an opportunity analysis report to the Elevate Management Committee, concluding that yes, indeed, this could be done and in fact should be done. And in September 2017, we retained Convergent after the feasibility study, and Lawrence and Elizabeth moved to Rapid City, where they've been since then, with the plan, the initial objective, to raise $4.25 million. In December, the campaign leadership was chosen, the plan was refined, the structure and materials developed, and in January we started the quiet phase, basically pursuing larger gifts. And then the kickoff was held at Black Hills Energy headquarters in April 2018, right before the chamber mixer that day. And then we began the public phase of the campaign in May 2018. So that's where we are today. Where we go from here the next couple months will be, we've formed two entities. We've formed a C3 corporation to allow donors who want to take advantage of charitable contributions, and we've also formed a C6, which will be the kind of the operating entity for Elevate Rapid City. And so we will finalize the bylaws, elect the officers and board of directors at those meetings in July and August, and we'll go from there. So at this time, I would like to introduce Lawrence and Elizabeth. And I will say, and it's been interesting for me to work with them and talk with them. They won't say this in their presentation, but cracking the nut in Rapid City has been quite a challenge for them. They've both been doing this for a long time, economic development fundraising, and their insight into Rapid City and initially how difficult it was to get this endeavor started and going is really interesting. But what's heartening is once it did start going, once it did start building momentum, it has been tremendous, and the response of the business community really is to be commended. And they'll share some of the numbers. Maybe they'll get into some of the insight and nuance, If not, if they don't do it tonight, if you get a chance to meet with them, ask them about that, because I think there's lessons to be learned, not just from the monetary aspect of this campaign, but how they have gone about to build the excitement for this campaign and the hurdles and burdens they've had in doing that. And I think we can all learn from that a tremendous amount. So with that, I'll hand it over to Lawrence and Elizabeth. Thank you.
Well, good evening, and thank you as well for the opportunity to be here. We really appreciate it. I was younger when I started this campaign. I've been here a year, and I look a little bit older. I have gray. Rapid City is a very interesting place. The one thing I will say is when we started our interviews last July, we heard they were all confidential, but we heard some interesting comments, and one of those was someone said to us that Rapid City has a claim jumper approach. We keep things very close to the vest, and if we want you to know, we'll let you know in due time. And when you're trying to run a campaign and economic development, you know, it's better to do that sooner rather than later. So we had to kind of work through a process. The culture here is just it's very independent, and which has its strengths and you know, weaknesses to it. But it was enjoyable. We spent a month here last July. It was 105. I didn't say we're from Florida, and it's hotter here than it is where we're from in Daytona Beach. Our company is headquartered in Atlanta. We're the largest fundraising firm for chambers, economic development groups, and city-county governments in economic development. My background for about 25 years in Georgia, I ran economic development groups and chambers of commerce, and then moved to Florida and did the same there, where I met Elizabeth.
A little bit about me. I'm actually, some of you already know that I was born in Phillip and I grew up in Spearfish, so I'm very familiar with this community, this region. We are very excited to have overcome the mindset and learn so much more about the individuals and the people, and are very, very excited about this opportunity. My background also, I was a school psychologist for about 12, 13 years. And I think the psychology has helped breaking the code for this area.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to start. I'm just going to point out a few things during our interviews last July. We asked about 25 questions. I'm just going to show you 3 quickly. You know, we asked these all in confidence. What do people think of the Rapid City economy? And as you can see, 73% said good. We don't usually get all responses good or better. So that was really, really promising. What we heard time and time again is Rapid City doesn't see the highs and lows of a lot of economies. It's pretty stable. The 2 really most important questions are what's holding us back? What are the challenges or obstacles? And you can see that doesn't add to 100%. Those percentages are how often these items were brought up during the interviews. And the one that has 38% on top, lack of skilled talent, you know, came up nearly 50% of the time. And then you can go around and you can see some of the things we have: lack of visionary leadership, a reactive mindset. City regulations were 29% of the time. Lack of north-south interstate, lack of housing, air service cost, and lack of good jobs. So the 62 leaders that we interviewed collectively said these are the things that hold Rapid City back from going forward. You know, the flip side to that is what are the things that Rapid City has that other communities don't have that you can leverage and compete with? And on that, 62%. Outdoor beauty, biking, hiking, skiing, hunting, fishing, all the things that you can do here. And that's part of our plan now based on what was in here, and we'll point that out to you in a minute. The second was the School of Mines, Ellsworth Air Force Base, and SURF, all averaged right around 47%. So I would say those are the top 4 things that you have that other communities around the country don't have, that you could leverage to your advantage. Of course, you've got a low business cost, the quality of life is great, and the work ethic for those who are working, very strong, good Midwestern values. So, you know, again, we asked about 25 questions. We presented that to the board in August, and then we were invited back the end of September to come and develop based on the interviews and what we heard. And one of the first things we did is we developed this chart. And what you're looking at, the 100% black line is U.S. average income. And it's a chart that starts on the left in 1969 and it goes to 2015. And what we're doing is looking at per capita income, which some people will say the more money you have in a community per capita, the more that's available for quality of life initiatives, roads and museums and theaters and recreational fields and all those kinds of things. If you're in a poorer community, those things generally don't happen. So in 1969, that red line is Rapid City. And what we're saying is Rapid City was 89% of U.S. average income. And Pierre is above us and Sioux Falls is above us. And then you go from 69 to 74, 75. All three of the economies go up. Rapid Cities went up because Ellsworth Air Force Base was ramping up and growth was occurring. And then you see we're above the U.S. average. It's a great place to be. You want to be a community that lifts the U.S. up, not ones that's bringing it down. But in 1979-80, some interesting things happened. You all recall there was a recession. Gas prices were through the roof. Tourism fell off. That obviously would hurt a community like Rapid City. Agriculture suffered. Prime lending was at 22%. A lot of things happening back in the early 80s. So all three of those communities decline for about 10 years. The per capita declines to 1989. And then something interesting happens. The lines diverge. Rapid City stays flat for the next 10 years. Pierre comes up, and Sioux Falls goes up and stays up for the next 30 years. And you heard it said earlier, well, what happened back in 1989 in Sioux Falls? Well, they formed Forward Sioux Falls in 1987. And 2 years after forming that and working that plan, they started to have successes. And so they've had successes ever since, and they've been above the U.S. average. Of course, they've had some things that have happened to them, just as we have. If you follow that red line across to 1999, 2000, there's a dip. Well, that's when your meatpacking plant burned down. You lost 500 jobs. That's the dip there. And if we really wanted to, we could go and look at the newspaper articles year by year, and we could tell you why we were going up or why we were going down. That was brought up to us by several people. And then after that, we came back up, and we're now, in 2015, the latest data we have, at about 96%. So we're doing pretty good. But the purpose of Elevate Rapid City is all about that red line. You know, we do this all over the country, and that's what chambers of commerce and economic development groups are paying attention to. How is our economy doing? How are we doing compared to others? And are we going in the right direction? We could point out communities to you across the country whose red line is plummeting. Flint, Michigan would be a great example. With the water crisis they've had over the last 3 or 4 years, you've got people and businesses that move out. And when that happens and you lose income, it hurts. Our goal, of course, is to get this up. The best place to be is around 105, 110% of the U.S. average, above it. We've been in communities last year like Alexandria, Virginia. They're at 135%. Sounds great, but their cost of living is way up there too. If you can keep it around 105, 110%, you keep your cost of living down, but you've got the income in the community to do the things you want. So everything that Elevate is about, that the community and this leadership has put together, is about moving that line, moving the needle. So a plan was developed based on those interviews. We spent the months of really October to December of revising the plan. And the plan we interviewed people on, we affectionately call version 1. The plan that's out there now is version 13. So it's taken a lot of changes, which is great. Sometimes we go into communities and we report back confidentially what was said in the interviews, and the leadership doesn't change anything. They have their mind made up and they want to go forward with it. In this case, made 13 changes, and we had a great committee that reviewed everything that got changed based on the comments and measured it out. In fact, this is the leadership of our campaign cabinet. You can see, I think it's a who's who list of folks that are leading us. We've got our honorary members representing different factions, school systems, and of course the city, and tourism's reflected in here. Even though there's no tourism in this plan, we felt like it was important to acknowledge that. Down at the bottom, you have the Program Refinement Committee. They're the ones who took those changes and took us from version 1 to version 13. And you know, that's not a negative, that's a good thing, and we'll have different versions as we go through this year and through the following years. It's a good thing that this is not a plan that is intended to sit on a shelf. And then on the right side of the page, you see different leaders at different levels who stepped up for us to help us raise funds to fund this. It's important that the private sector lead this. It's not unusual around the country, but it's unusual here. So this is a private sector-led economic development effort, and these are the folks, and I can't say enough about them. When we go into a community, one of the interview questions is, who are the leaders in this community that if they were to step forward, people give them credibility, they'll follow them. These, plus the 3 chairmen that you've already seen their photos, were many of the names. We were given about 45, 46 names. Obviously, we can't have all of them up there, but I'm very proud that we got this group to join us, because without it, we wouldn't be where we are today, and Jim Scull will report out where we are. And I'll just have to say something about Jim Scull. When we came here in October, we wanted to, get 3 chairs, and we went to David Lust, and we went to David Emery, and they both said, yes, we'll do this. And we went to see Jim Scull, and he said, no, I'm not doing it. But he kept us there for like 3 hours, asking us every question you could possibly ask, and it was still no when we left. But over the weekend, he called us at home about 9:30 at night and said, I've really read through everything, and as long as I'm not on here, just to have my face on here, in spite of what David Lust said a minute ago, I will be involved in this, and I can see where it would benefit the community. So Jim came on later. What I'm going to show you now is really the bullet points of what our plan is. The first one is the strategy of innovation and entrepreneurship. When we interviewed people, we said on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 is we don't need to do it, we're wasting money. 10 is you have to do it, it's critical. Number 1 got the most votes. So this community says we need to grow our own businesses. We need to incubate them, which is obviously you guys have contributed some land for a new incubator. We're full with the first one, so we applaud you for that. But we need to grow them ourselves and create some headquarters here. I'll just, a quick aside, headquartered companies are critical to a community. And I'll use Black Hills Corp. Obviously, they're the biggest, but you've got others as well. But Black Hills Corp is headquartered here. They do business in 8 states. Well, the revenues from those 8 states come in here. They're bringing wealth back into the community. So wherever those headquarters are, that's where you're going to get some engagement and some involvement, not just in dollars, but in skills, the talent that's in those organizations. There are others like RPM that are headquartered here. They sell product all over the world. That money is coming back here. So growing your own and having headquarters is key, and that's the key part of this plan. We call it the economic gardening or the farming approach. The second one, you may have heard this recently, embrace the base. So Ellsworth is our number 2 strategy, and there's a couple of components to that. First, let's stay off the BRAC list. We don't want to be back on that. And based on what we interviewed the commander, based on some of the things you guys have done, expanding the Powder River training, when we interviewed him last year, he said that was phenomenal. It woke up the eyes of the entire military, so it was a wonderful thing you guys did, very forward-thinking and very helpful. The second thing is we want to get the B-21s here, and I know Heather Wilson was recently here, but there are 3 bases, and it sounds like all 3 are going to get them, but it's most important that we're Base 1, because Base 1 gets the most investment. They get the headquarters and the administration and the training, and it happens in a shorter time frame than if you're Base 2 or 3. So it's really important that Elevate is behind lobbying and doing everything we possibly can to make sure that happens. And as an aside there, too, I was a part of 2 BRAC initiatives, one in Augusta, Georgia, where we saved Fort Gordon, and now there's a lot of national security expansion stuff there for the federal government. And I was in Athens, Georgia, where we lost our base. It was a Navy base and the only one not on the water. So we kind of thought that might happen at some point. And you don't ever want to lose Ellsworth. You've got a real gem there and a real opportunity. And even though Heather Wilson is from here, it looks like that's a good thing. It's also could be a negative, because people could look at her and say she chose Rapid City because she ran the School of Mines and she has a daughter here. So we have to help her overcome that if that is the selection. And there are things that are happening in the background right now regarding Embrace the Base, and we just really need to leverage that as much as we can.
There's one, when we talked to Colonel Edwards, he had talked about the relationship with Rapid City and the base and the airmen, and there's several things that he spoke about that we needed to work on that was difficult for them, and one of them was the child care. It takes about 8 weeks to get people through security to have child care there. if the women that come with the airmen don't have childcare, then, you know, that makes the airman's life a little bit more difficult. Military housing, we all know that housing is a little, there's a shortage here on housing, so that was one of the things. It's the only base that's completely full, so we need to, you know, there was a big study that just came out, which was great, by the Vukurovich Foundation, gave a lot of great information. And then the other thing that's not on here that was, he said that it seems like a small thing, but it was a real issue for the individuals living on the base, because half of it is in Meade County, half is in Pennington County, and there's a lot of homeschool kiddos out there, and the individuals that that lived in Pennington could use the library for free. Of course, Meade County, you know, they would have to pay the $100 or so. So Ellsworth Development Authority had stepped up and went ahead and funded that, so that's already something that is just, you know, one of those things that we took care of, luckily. He just really impressed upon the fact that we really need to focus on embracing the base and really uniting the city and appreciating what we have there, because at, what, 359 million annual impact, that's significant. So it's whatever we can do to you know, continue that is very important.
Yeah, I'd just like to add to that. Once we heard that, you know, we were done interviewing him, and he said, this doesn't sound like a big deal based on your plan, but it's a big deal to us.
Mm-hmm.
We mentioned it to the mayor, and we talked to the library director, and we talked to Helen Sarah, and they all talked with Pat Burchill, and they were able to get that taken care of. So it's a small victory already for Elevate, making the base happier about what's going on. Our third strategy, this is a big one. We heard it a lot, workforce development. We have three strategies here. One is a K-12 strategy. Let's make VOTEC cool again. You know, when we were growing up, VOTEC was in the high schools, and somehow it's been moved out. It's been moved up, sometimes into community colleges, certainly in technical schools, but we push everybody to college. And Elizabeth and I do some webinars with cities. We had about 100 cities on a webinar a couple of months ago talking about talent and VOTEC and what it takes to, you know, get the mindset right. And I'm pleased that Dr. Simon, your superintendent, is a partner with us in this, and she understands it. And so meeting with counselors and making sure that people have kids have opportunities to know what's in a community, taking all the sixth graders, for instance, and doing tours of manufacturing plants and local businesses, letting them know there's an option, because, you know, only 35% of the kids who actually go to college graduate. The other 65% have debt. They don't have a degree. They may not have work experience because they were focused on that path. And so cities all over the country are trying to turn that around, and I'm pleased that you guys are too.
It's really about changing that messaging in the school system, and it starts, you know, early on, where we need to, you know, if we change that messaging where if you don't go to college, it's okay. I mean, it really is. Like you said, the statistics are, you know, when you start, the achievement rate is pretty, you know, slim, and then as you get into the higher degrees, you know, that's even lower. So really just changing that messaging that it's okay to work in vocate, be a plumber, be a construction, all of those things. It's just, you know,
A lot of
we
great
need to be able
jobs.
to take care of ourselves.
The second part of this is after K-12, post-secondary, what are we doing with them? Well, you guys have a number of institutions, Black Hills State, the School of Mines, National American.
NAU.
Yeah. And we don't keep those graduates, unfortunately. A lot of them leave. We're pleased to report Western Dakota Tech, 88% retention of the graduates in the area, so that's really, really great, but we lose others. So this strategy is about, let's try and keep them here. And how do you do that? Well, you guys know millennials sometimes choose where they want to live before they even have a job, so why would they choose Rapid City? I think you've got a great downtown. I think it's thriving. There's a lot of good things going on. There's a bar scene, a foodie scene. There's certainly the outdoor narrative of this biking, hiking, all of that kind of stuff. So I think that attraction's there. Job opportunities are what's going to come next, and that's what Elevate's all about trying to get. So what if they do leave? How do we get them back? Well, Elizabeth's actually a great example. She joined the Army and You tell them.
I joined the Army. I was a school psychologist, summers off. I had just taken a position in Alexandria, Virginia, working with inner city kiddos. Came back to Spearfish to visit my family, and I'm like, I need to, feel like we need to stay here again. So instantly, started looking around for a position, and Black Hills Special Services was where I landed, and school psych around the entire Hills region for the districts here. So if we can really just focus on those job fairs that typically are held in the December months, Christmas time. You can only eat so much turkey and chicken and visit your in-laws, although mine's really great.
She's got great in-laws.
So anyway, develop a job fair. It's been very successful. Sioux Falls has one, but other communities in the area are in the region know that that's significant, and then starting one in the summer as well. So just really connecting back to what we have to offer.
Yeah, Sioux Falls, when they started their job fair for the holidays, people said, you're nuts, nobody's going to come to it. Now they got thousands of people that come to it. Asheville, North Carolina does the same thing. That's part of what we're proposing here. We do a job fair during the holidays when some of those graduates who left come back to visit family if they're here, and maybe they'll know about job opportunities. The third objective under workforce, we literally took a month off from what we typically do in meeting with businesses. Because we had some people saying, well, we like the name, it sounds great, you're going to elevate Rapid City, but are you elevating all of Rapid City? And the answer to that was no. We weren't addressing some 12,000, we've since found out, people within the region, 70% are Native American, who are no longer looking for employment. So we took the month off, met with a lot of social service agencies, and collaboratively came up with a new plan that we presented to our refinement committee, and they adopted. So this objective 3 is trying to lift up everybody in Rapid City. Some of those will be able to help. Could be a transportation issue, could be a child care issue, maybe a substance abuse issue that can be overcome. We know that some people we will not get to, maybe a third of that group, they don't want help and we're not going to be able to. But at least we're making the effort and giving everybody an opportunity. So we're excited about that. Our last strategy here is the new business investment. So the goal is to attract $300 million in new capital investment and 2,200 jobs in industries that you already have approved and adopted. It's part of your master plan. It came out of a Battelle study in 2014. We didn't reinvent the wheel, but we read the study and we support it. It's industries like healthcare and manufacturing, financial services, life sciences, and those kinds of things. So we feel really good about that. There are a number of other things in there. I'm glossing over it pretty quickly, but that's really the big goal here. Let's attract some more jobs here, and let's get the investment. Objective 2, that outdoor narrative. Coming back to that was the #1 thing that people said you had an asset. We're just going to give you an example. When we were in Roanoke, Virginia last year, working with their regional partnership in their chamber, about 10 years ago, they developed a strategy to sell the outdoors. They said companies love it. They want to be associated with clean air and clean water in the Blue Ridge Mountains and all of that. And so they were able to fund it. And at the same time they funded it, their chamber and their CVB used the exact same messaging. And you guys have seen some here at the airport. The partnership does the live, work, play here. It's that, and it's plus some more. But in Roanoke, using that messaging, Hum Kombucha, Ballast Point Brewery, Deschutes Brewery, all in the last year built multi-million-dollar plants because of that messaging. They want to be there. And that attracts millennials, too. And you guys have the exact same thing. It's really no different. It's a different look and different feel, but you have it, too.
Additionally, all of the outdoor activities that are here in the area, I mean, just fishing, biking, hiking, climbing, everything. If we focus on, really expanding that and connecting, Roanoke had a marathon about 6 weeks ago. In their one weekend of focusing on this marathon, $680,000 in annual impact. If we start really working together and focus on the messaging, I mean, it could really change the game here.
They just started that 5 years ago, so this doesn't take a whole lot of effort. It just takes someone planning it. I just have a few more slides here, and then I'm going to turn it over to Jim Skull. So the plan I just showed you is your plan. We came in and we did the interviews and we tweaked it, but it is the community's plan. Well, Convergent, we have an economist in Atlanta, and every time a community gives us a plan, we try to show the community what the impact is. So This plan, I'm just showing you 2 pages, I think, maybe 3 out of it, and we can get you the full detail if you'd like to see it, but there's 3 models in here. There's a jobs model. What do those 2,200 jobs look like that we're going after, the pay and all of that? A consumer spending model and a banking impact model. And I just want to show you, this is a summary, this is not the detail, but this is a summary return on investment for some industries. On the left side, you see charitable contributions. That comes out to $3.5 million. So to those charities in town who think something like this competes with them, that's not the case. We're about growing the entire economy, and we will grow just based on the jobs, not based on the businesses, because we don't know who those are yet. But based on the jobs that those businesses would employ, $3.5 million additional will be available for charitable giving. You can see housing mortgages is just under $6 million. Apartment rentals is just under $10 million. Healthcare is right around $10 million. These are annual return on investment when these jobs are here. On the right side, you see vehicle purchases, new and used, $10 million. So if I'm Liberty, I don't know if they're in the room, but if I have 50% market share, I should see 50% of that number once this plan is enacted and in place. And that's why they will invest in that. That's why the businesses Jim's going to show you in a minute have already invested. But specifically to you guys, this is my last slide, Rapid City's return on investment. If you look down at the bottom of that, there's estimated state sales tax and estimated local sales tax. So this plan should generate $1.6 million back to you guys annually in sales tax. And if you take that further, this is an excerpt out of the detail where I'm just showing you the housing portion. So housing demand, owned dwellings, homes, 13 million additional demand per year. And of that, mortgage interest is 6 million. Well, you're not in the banking, but the banks will love that number. They've got a lot of, banks are just kind of embedded throughout the whole document because they'll be financing the vehicles and all of that stuff too. But mortgage interest and charge is 6 million, but below that is property taxes. So city, county, state property taxes is 4 million. You'll see a portion of that in addition to the sales tax. So somewhere probably in the 3 million range total between the two is what you should see annually. Then below that, you see things like maintenance, repairs, and insurance. So if you're Menards or Lowe's or an insurance company, 2.8 million based on your market share. Rented dwellings would be duplexes, triplexes, apartments. That's 10 million. We didn't break that out, but there's going to be taxes on that too, property taxes, and there's going to be construction loans as well. So our whole document at Convergent is about showing the return on investment to the businesses in town specifically, and this part certainly is directed towards you guys. So that is it for me, and I'm going to leave the rest for Jim Scull, and then we can all take questions at the end if you'd like.
Well, good evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you for listening to us. I really believe in this project now. And I did come as a skeptic. And I hope some of you are skeptics. Because we were talking today, skepticism is good. If everybody just kind of meanders along like there's no big deal, and we're all in alignment, you don't get the meat and potatoes out. That's what I think. You got to have a little challenge. Sometimes I challenge just to be challenging because it's good for the process. And I was a skeptic. I was a skeptic because I, first of all, didn't think those four organizations could work together in any kind of collaborative manner, just my perspective. When they told me they was going to raise over $4 million total, now that's public and private. They've raised it now from the private sector. I told them it wouldn't happen. And the big one for me is leadership. When they said they would bring leadership in Rapid City together and do something collaborative, I said, Rapid City is fiercely independent. Our people have difficulty coming together on projects and all seeing a light and somehow finding a way to come together and converge and make it happen. It's just very difficult. And so the first two I set aside when I talked to these people, and I thought about why I said no. And I came back to the leadership. I saw a glint of possibility here because they hadn't raised this money. These leaders weren't on the board. They had possibilities. Some may have showed up to the party. I don't know. They had a list of all kinds of things, and that's all really good stuff, you know. But I guess for me, as most of you know, I feel really strongly about Rapid City. I feel strongly about West River and our region. It's just been really good to me. Good things have happened here. You know, I feel right now we are at probably one of the best places I've ever seen us be as a community in a region. Good things are really happening here. From businesses showing up, business startups, School of Mines really engaged with innovative entrepreneurship, great new president that's really into that. Our base has incredible opportunity to push this forward. You know, the base is a $360 million a year generator now of economic development. If they add this B-21, it's about half again as much. It's a huge, huge deal if we get this. You know, the lab you hardly hear anything about up in Lead and Deadwood, and it's huge what they're doing up there. The number of people they're talking about bringing on board, have to bring on board. If you haven't heard it, it's like 2,000 jobs by 2020. There's lots of good indicators here. Everything's happening. We have a great consul. We have a great mayor. I'm even really happy about our new county commission, you know. So that's just who I am. I just come together and I'm looking at all the pieces and I'm saying, wow, what's going on here? I've never seen this happen in Rapid City. It's kind of converging. So it's really cool to see all this. And then the leadership starts to come together. These leaders, amazing. It's amazing. We haven't done this in economic development before. We just couldn't quite get it together, you know. The Development Authority's done tremendous at the base. They've set the base up for a huge win. They really have. Those people out there, what provided funding for and the state has, it's really been good. What we don't know in this town is we don't communicate enough and we don't have enough awareness of all the good things happening. And how do you connect all the dots and say, wow, this is good. This is really good stuff. I could see this really taking shape and coming online. Now we're going to have a new arena. I think that's the cherry. That's the mayor and I were talking the other day. He said, that's the cherry on the cake. And I was driving here thinking the same thing. It isn't the arena. It's the fact that this community came together to make that happen, that they see a future here. And young people got on board. And business leaders got on board. And signs are in businesses. You know, good things are happening. We can come together and make things happen. And that's what this has done. You know, we have leader after leader. I was a skeptic. There's still skeptics out there. They picked up a couple this week, like to the tune of $160,000 this far into the campaign. I said, how many more you got to go? They said, oh, 30 or 40 more. We're talking to them. We've put the seed in, and then they see all these leaders come to the table. I mean, you look at this leadership board, you'll see in a minute, and you say, wow, some people have showed up to this party. Some quality people with great staffs and brain power. And wanting to make something happen in Rapid City, not as a charity, as an investment in our community. It's huge. It's masterful. And your piece is yet to come. We're the private part, you're the public part, you know? So we're hoping we can convince you to see that we have great opportunity here, and you'll see the value and you'll come on too. So I guess you can look at the strategies, you've talked about them, you see what we're doing. We have a board of directors coming online. That board of directors will be selected from the 25 or so people. There you go, right there, board of directors. Those are people that are all in, made a huge commitment of time, money, energy. If you look down through the list, we've covered most of the quality progressive businesses in Rapid City. There's a few missing. We'll get them on board, I'll guarantee you, when they see this and they realize what we can do and what's happening and how they could be a part of it. We'll have more come on board. It's just a tremendous success already, way beyond my expectations. They've raised $4.4 million, $60,000 out of the private sector today. Who would have thought? Twice what Black Hills Vision 1 and 2 did, I think, something like that. I mean, this has been far more successful. Many more people have got on board. So there's some of your players up there, you know, in the Diamond Division. That's the guys who should be there. That's the guys who have a great investment in Rapid City and want to see it very successful. Black Hills Energy, you know, has come online in a big way. Vakurovich, thank God for Vakurovich, you know, investing $6 or $7 million. If you see their report in this community every year, that's huge. It's off the scale. What would we do without them? You know, but all those were big players. The Crazy Horse, the Platinum Investors. Again, people who really believe in this community, want to make a difference. All those people, they're just coming on board left and right. There might be a few pending, I'm not sure, but most of them have been at a firm commitment. Some were surprised to me they haven't They haven't played in our community a lot. For whatever reason, they're seeing the value in this, they're seeing the investment, they see it can work, and it's happening. So it's really a wonderful deal. What do we got next?
I would just say the only pending on there is the city. Everybody on that sheet is a confirmed investment.
And you should ask, and I expect you to ask, what makes this different? Why will we be successful? I mean, we put a lot of money into economic development and activities over the years. Why is this one different? And there you can see it. It's funded 60% by the private sector. And I'm a private sector guy, and I believe in industry. I believe in businessmen. Businessmen are can-do guys, especially in a place like this in Rapid City, South Dakota. I think you have to be innovative. You have to meet challenges head-on. You've got to find solutions. You've got to find options. You've got to make things happen. You're used to success. And so when you put all that together and the talent we have and the questions we're going to ask each other about what do we do to move to the next level in all these areas, I just know it's going to be great success. I can't imagine it any different. We're going to pull each other through the trenches. Yes, we're going to have challenges, but I see it as something we've never had in this community in my lifetime that I remember anyway. So that's a wonderful thing. The collaborative approach with the 4 partners, bringing them together, talking through that, giving them leadership, asking them to do something maybe beyond what they've normally done before to meet the private partnership goals that we will set. I think that's a terrific move forward. And then we're going to measure it. It's measurable, just like any other business plan is. It's measurable. We're going to look at the businesses that came here and the private people that sat down with them and said, we can do this. I talked to one recently, wants to be here, simply for the reason that he's successful in life, he's moved on, he's got a great business plan, he wants to start here, he wants to come to Rapid City. I've sat with a few of these, and a lot of them say, well, first question is, how much can you give me for dollars? So I asked him, I says, you know, is this your expectation? He said, no. Rapid City's a heck of a town. It's a nice place to live. I come here since I was a kid from Minnesota. You know, now I live in Arizona, but I have a 40-year-old son that's very smart and aggressive, and we want to start a brand new business, hasn't been done before, and we really like your community. We want to sit with your business leaders. We want to tell you our challenges that we see in coming here, and we want you to help overcome them. That's a great attitude. That's something we can do as a community, and we'll see more and more of that. So good things are happening there. So we'll measure that performance, and it's measurable. So we'll all be on deck. We'll keep each other accountable. And the last thing, you know, we hope to hire, we will hire. I call him an executive director, high-test individual, great skills in multiple areas to keep us on track, because I agree with others that we're all businessmen, we're busy, we have X amount of time to give to this, we can set aside and go for it, but we need somebody that leads the charge and makes it happen. So I see that as a possibility. That's something that's kind of late in the game, but I think the management staff is on board to do that. And so through that, and through all the things that make any company successful, we can make this happen. So, I guess tonight, where we're at is we're asking for your support. It's a really big deal. I think it's going to change the complexion of this region and area. It's already amazing success. It's awesome. Who would have thought? I didn't. That you'd bring this leadership together at the caliber it is. Nearly every quality business in the region come together to make this happen. The money they put forth, and you talk to any of them, they'll say, this isn't charitable, this is not a donation. We're going to be at the table with our people, doing everything we can to make this a success. And that's what we need. Boy, you create that dynamic and energy moving forward, it's going to be a crazy, crazy successful deal. And with your support, because it is public-private, you can all look back at some public-private things that have just done dynamite, just blew the doors off things, and we can do that with you. So actually we're asking, we'll put in 2 if you'll put in 1. We're going to put in 2. You put in what you need to or what you want to, but it would be really nice. We're at 4. I hate to tell you this. You might just want to set a number because we're going to get higher than 4. I really see us going to 5, maybe over 5. We got some players out there that are on the cusp. They're looking to get on board and do great things with this. They're really believing in this. God, isn't that great to hear? I mean, I love it. They're believing in the process. They're seeing it. God bless Elizabeth. Lawrence is the spokesperson. She's the brains. You guys got that, didn't you? Huh? So anyway, they've done a tremendous job in our community. They have understood that we're different. We're renegades a little bit out here. We dance to our own tune. We do our own thing. Skepticism is real widespread. You know, we like to march to our own drummer. So they've pulled that together. They've realized that. They've seen how they can work with it and make it a an asset instead of a liability. And they've done really well. So with that, we're open to questions. Any questions you might have? How we can move forward in the future, how we can look at this and make this happen. Thank you.
Okay, we have a question from Jason Solomon.
First of all, I'd like to acknowledge the presentation. If I can get a second, I retain the floor.
Second by Becky Drury. Go ahead.
Thank you all. One thing I've said a lot, and it's kind of cliche, but economic development truly is the tide that raises all ships, as you can tell in the graph that you showed us. It could help in all the other things that we actually are passionate about. So even if you're not passionate about economic development, it is something that can fuel what you are passionate about. So I do thank you for that. So real quick, and I don't know, Jim, if you're the one to answer this question, but just to be very clear to the council and to the public, what you're requesting is some sort of commitment, probably from our vision funds. Is there a target that you're looking at? Any specifics you want to give us there?
Well, our target, I believe, is $400,000 a year. We're doing this over a 5-year period, so that would equal $2 million over 5 years. Most commitments are a 5-year commitment.
Okay. And that's wanted to make sure that we were all understanding of what may be presented to us in the near future on that. And I guess I would just say this, together we win. And in a lot of things, and we see this all over the place in Rapid City, and I thought you did a great job summarizing that. And this is yet another thing that I think if we work together on, this community can win. And I love the way that you all presented this, that if we work together, good things can happen. And I think, in my mind, I'm looking through that, and I've read through the materials prior to this, obviously, but I look at it like a roadmap for us as well. These are things like Ellsworth, for example. I've sent an email to our Parks and Rec director. Can we do a discount for active duty military members and families to help bring them into our park systems? Or there are little things that we can do left and right to brace the base. And anyway, I think for us as council, if you're looking for a roadmap, if you're looking for a game plan to say, hey, these are things that are important priorities that can move the needle, that can impact all the things that I care about, this is a well-researched, well-funded, proven with a lot of trusted leaders behind it to say this is a good game plan for us and a good direction for us to move over the next 5 years. So I'm encouraged by this. I look forward to hearing more and more. I think that's what we will all want and need, and to figure out how the council can play a role. And so thank you all very much for your commitment already, your hard work. Lawrence and Elizabeth, thank you very much as well. And I'll yield the floor. Thank you.
John Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Jim. I'm very excited about this. I'm sure you can tell from my face. I've had the opportunity to work with some wonderful economic development partnerships. And I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, but unfortunately it hasn't been in Rapid City. And I think one of the things that we really need, and one of the things that really excites me about this, is having something to measure against what you're doing. So you're going to show us actually what we are investing our money in.
Yes.
So, and, I've been on the council for quite a while now. We've invested a lot of money in economic development and really haven't seen we haven't got a lot of feedback to what we've accomplished. And I want to see that, and I think that this is just so much different than what we've been doing in the past. One of the things that I've really enjoyed about some of the groups that I've worked with is going in and talking to them. The first thing they ask is, what can we do for you? And that's what I see here. And Rapid City, you know, you built for a long time in Rapid City, Jim, and there's not a lot of what can we do for you. Right. So I'm really, really excited about this. And I think it's going to be good for my business. I think it's going to be good for everybody else that owns a business in Rapid City. And I think we're going to see those wages go up. I think we're going to see some of the quality businesses that we need to get into town. And I'm hoping we're going to get more manufacturing that I've been harping on for the last decade in Rapid City. And I just look forward to this because I think it's very exciting. And I think you're right. This is an exciting time for Rapid City. You know, I've been wrong on things before. I'm praying to God every night I was wrong on the Civic Center. So, but I think that we can go forward with this, and this is a huge opportunity for Rapid City. So thank you.
Thank you.
Amanda Scott.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you to all of you for working on this. You guys have already been at it for well over a year, so you've already got some blood and sweat in there, so thank you very much for that, and thank you to all the contributors that have come so far. I just had one real quick question, and Jim, I don't know if you're aware of it or not, and I don't know if anybody else is, but you're the one that targeted, you said, this is all private money, which is fantastic, and that you're looking for some private partner or private-public partnerships, so see if we can get the city involved. My question to you is, I don't know if the county actually invests in any type of economic development, but you know, if you look at the numbers, the majority part of Rapid City is within Pennington County as well, and that would be another governmental agency that could be there. Have you guys reached out to the county at all? Because you just made the comment, you're really excited about, you know, the potential of the county commissioners coming online January 1st.
I'm really excited about the future county commissioners. and I think they will. You know, they used to be part of economic development. They used to contribute something, and now they contribute nothing. I think that's correct. Ben here? Yeah. So, you know, I'm very hopeful, and of course, it's kind of stacked in our favor at this time. I mean, and I know the mayor would like to collaboratively work with him. We've had that conversation, and he's a part of this. And we all need to have skin in the game. That's the deal. When you have skin in the game, you have an investment. Everybody shows up to the party. You know, that's what I think of it. And they want to contribute. So we have to do our best. And I'm very hopeful about new county commissioners, are really different kinds of people. I mean, they're community players, I believe. They've proven that. And so we're going to have a majority there. We're going to have to do some talking, you know how they work. But I'm very hopeful. I don't know about the rest of you. Anybody got a comment?
Well, and it's encouraging. I just thought I'd reach out with that too, because I know the mayor has been working with the county commissioners, you know, ever since he got into office, and so now I know that they've been trying to work more collaboratively. So that might just be a way to get them to come to the table as well. But I was just wondering if you had approached them yet. So if you haven't, I would recommend that we try to see if we can pull them in.
We've approached members, I believe, would be correct. But we haven't approached the council or the commission as a whole. But I think that's all of our jobs. I mean, there's 10 of you, 11 of you up there, along with these business leaders. We should be able to make an impact. And when you look at the lineup of business leaders and you all show up at the party and say, we'd like your support, and here's why, and it makes sense. It's not pie in the sky. This makes sense for you guys to participate. I mean, county city here, the city's the majority of the people in the county, and we all gather or gain from it. So it seems like a no-brainer to me, but sometimes politics is different than that. So, but I think we'll get her done. I'm confident. I really am. Good people there.
Thank you. I yield, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess just a couple of comments. As I looked through the folder for Elevate Rapid City, I noticed pictures of Mount Rushmore, Crazy Horse, the City of President statues, the Journey, the Black Hills Playhouse, Art Alley, all those things that are part of the quality of life. I think that you might want to think about showing us what you've actually done. You know, I mean, yeah, that's that's kind of an echo of the fact that we're progressing as a community, but why not show us the great things that are going on over at the incubator so that we have at least some kind of a picture of what we're trying to accomplish? And that would also include programs for WDTI. You know, some of the VOTEC work you guys talked about really impressed me, because I really do think that's where the future lies. And as far as when we talk about military involvement in this town, you know, it's always Ellsworth. We never talk about the National Guard camp. They're a huge financial part of our picture. And I would like to see them included in future discussions when we talk about what we want to do. Yeah, we're probably not in any danger of losing them, but they're a huge part of our community. And as far as the things they do when they do the Golden Coyote and all those things, I'd like to see a little bit more light shine on that part of our military as well. So that's just a couple of suggestions that I have, and I of course would want to support this in any way that I could, but I think that you could do a better job selling this to people like me and showing us what you've actually accomplished so far with your incubators and those kinds of things with the tech. Thank you.
Well, those are great comments, because, you know, communication and awareness is very difficult, I find, in a community. And Embrace the Base is brand new. Frankly, we've met twice. It was spurred on by, you know, our base out here in the B-21. It absolutely came up in our conversations. So this is also the state headquarters for National Guard. They're a base also. They will be equal play as we promote that in the community, because if there's military discounts, military is military. So it will be there. So, but that's great. But part of it is just the awareness. We're doing a lot of things in these community, you know.
Yeah.
The Ascent Innovation Campus down here, you know, they just had their kickoff last week, you know, and this group has basically committed, I think, at least $500,000. There's a little mixture here. I'm not on the management committee, but at least $500,000 of that project and leadership, and a lot of these leaders are the same because it is the foundation. So that's one of their key focuses. Now that hasn't come out too brightly yet, but it will, you know. And I'm with you, though. We have some great community businesses that are coming online. I mean, RPM, Face Technologies, a homegrown company. Immutrix is now into manufacturing. They're doing a great job. They're all hiring engineers from the School of Mines.
And those names mean something to you, but I need some pictures. I need some visuals of what that is. And I think that I'm not in the minority here at all, so I would like to see a little bit more. If they're doing 3D printers, I want to see some pictures of those going out the doors, and, you know, that's what I'd like to see.
Yeah, you're right on track with the whole communication phase. That was something that we realized when we were analyzing all of the plans that have been in effect before, the lack of communication and promoting all of the positive and great things that are going on in this community. We really weren't doing that. So part of this, which we really couldn't put everything up there, is a whole really marketing and communication phase to get those type of things out. So just wanted to make sure you knew that we're really focusing on the social media, the website. We have nearly 500,000 of in-kind media that we plan to focus on investors and businesses. Face Technology has been here nearly 20 years, and their things go all over the world. We need to start highlighting all of the great things that are in here. There's, I think, about 145 manufacturers in the area. Do we know that? Not really. So you're exactly right that we really need to start highlighting all the wonderful things.
Okay, thank you. I yield.
Richie Nordstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. Jim or Lawrence, just a question for you folks. I was looking at the website during your presentation, and I was following along with your presentation. It looks very good. What I was observing is that we just mentioned briefly about the communication. You have a tab on there that has a capability of presenting that information as well. So just an add-on, but the biggest thing that I'm interested in, and maybe Mr. Scull, you can help me out here. We used to have something called Air Force Community Partnerships, AFCP, we did that communications with them, and we did try to do some different projects with them, not with just the city, but throughout the entire community. Do you know if there's an opportunity for that to begin again? It was put on hold when there was a change of command, but do you see that taking place? And I know you're extremely involved with the Air Force community as well, and working on something to do with, shall I say, bringing in the Air Force into Rapid City and kind of demonstrate to the public that we do have that partnership with them as well?
Yes, I'm the honorary commander, you know, for Colonel Edwards. Colonel John Edwards, the wing commander at the base. So we've had some really good conversations. I call him a cerebral guy, you know. He's really smart and he's very engaged, and the uppers tell me he will be a general. I mean, he's a real high caliber guy. And he's brought it to my attention because he really likes our community, like most people. He gets here, first time he's ever been here, he's seeing the benefits of it, for his family, for his airmen, for quality of life. I mean, we're talking about quality of life issues. They have the same challenges all of us have, getting and keeping quality airmen. And so when they're talking to us about those things, and so I asked him, I said, could you just make me a simple list of what you'd say we can do that would enhance quality of life for your airmen and the citizens of Rapid City? How could we come together? And he did, like in 3 days, he shoots me this list. I mean, he's very engaged. So in that collaborative partnership, you know, he gave me the things, some of which you mentioned tonight. Another one we can all work on, we have to. It's big in my list because Heather Wilson also mentioned it, and he mentioned it first out of the box, is reciprocity for the spouses coming here, for professional licensure, nurses, CPAs, goes on, physical therapists, beauty operators, all kinds of things. I guess there's a couple hundred in the state. And some states, because the government is pushing quality of life, and they're two-income families just like everybody else, how do we make that happen in South Dakota? So we all got to get on board with that. I was talking to some legislators today. I've talked to Scott Stern. I've talked to the governor's office. I said, how do we collaborate, come together, and start communicating about the possibility of doing this for our military, you know, and keeping these people here? So, and then just the simple things. Again, like Darla was talking, communication has fallen off perhaps a little. You know, we have 3 firms. I mean, we have the task force, Ellsworth Task Force, which is a leadership group. We have the Ellsworth Development Authority, which is a leadership group, and then we have the Chamber group. And I guess things kind of slow down sometimes, and they need re-energizing. And so Edwards has kind of brought that to my attention, that I just asked him to share with me, how are other bases? So he has brought that up. We could do more in this community to do that.
Thank you. And then another company that needs to be bragged about, as far as I'm concerned, is VRC. We
Yes,
have
I
had an
did
update
mention
on
that.
them for quite some time, so they're another company. Not just the Air Force, but the other community activities that you're planning on bringing in. My primary concern right now is housing and what we can do to help with housing, not just the Air Force or the Army that's here in town, but the community as well. What can we do to help out all of these goals that you have in strategic plans to associate with bringing in affordable housing, workforce housing, and some of those areas that you've addressed in your strategic plan. So I look forward to seeing some results and some reports on that, because I see the businesses making that opportunity to come into the city, but where are we going to put them? And how do we house them? So that's another area of concern for me.
Yeah, it gets bigger all the time, as you know. And workforce development, under that, you know, they're starting to lose association with collective impact, because collective impact's addressing all of those issues, because that's all workforce. They got to have food to eat, they got to have transportation, they got to have housing, they got to have training, you know, they got to have behavioral health issues addressed. So it kind of all falls into there. You know, that's when Elizabeth and Lawrence said they stepped back a month and just started saying, this community is a little different than some, perhaps. We need to understand this to a greater degree so we can make them differences. And that's where we're all collaborating on that, big time right now, with the Vukurovich's push for, you know, a housing initiative and new literature and new data, so we can all be on the same page. It's happening, Richie. It's happening.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Lawrence, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
Jim, David, and everyone else who came in support. Great presentation. Thank you for your time. We have a motion on the floor to acknowledge the report. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Now, that takes us to our general public comment. This is a time for members of the public to discuss or express concerns to the council on any issue not on the agenda. Action will not be taken at the meeting on any issue not on the agenda, except by placement on the agenda by unanimous vote of the council members present. So I have a couple of speaker requests for general public comment. When you approach a podium, just know you have 3 minutes, and you can look at these lights up here to see how you're doing on time. The first one is Judy Miller. You could just state your name and address, and then we'll start the 3-minute
My name is, good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Judy Miller. I'm at 520 St. James Street. And I want to, you have in, all the council members have in their list of papers my email to Kelsey Sackhouse. And I'd like what I'm saying tonight is that I'd like for Dial-A-Ride to prioritize, number one, the life-threatening needs, like the people, my friend Elaine Morrison here, who go to dialysis at 6:15 in the morning and have no ride. It's to and from dialysis 3 days a week, so it's actually 6 rides that she needs to find per week. Many can't afford a taxi or other rides that costs. When Elaine takes a cab to dialysis, it's $20 over and $20 back, which would be $60 a week, which would be $500 a month, which she can't afford. I have spoken to my 2 councilmen, Richie Nordstrom and Steve Laurenti's voicemail, and I've spoken to Elaine's 2 councilpersons, Amanda Scott and John Roberts, and I want to thank all 4 of you for allowing me to speak to you in your voicemail, and how wonderful you were to me and so sensitive and understanding. Congratulations, Amanda, for being president. And I've spoken 3 times to Rich Sagan, the leader of Dial-A-Ride. He wrongly thought that Elaine and the approximately 45 people who are scheduled for 6:15 dialysis could reschedule for a time Dial-A-Ride serves them. Carly, the social worker for Rapid City Regional Hospital Dialysis, said the spots for dialysis are too full, and Elaine and other 24 chairs 6 days a week cannot reschedule, as Rich Sagan misunderstood. I've been driving Elaine to and from dialysis, but June 21st through the 24th, I had to go to a church meeting, and Elaine could not afford or find a ride and missed dialysis. She could have died from this life-threatening predicament. I want to get on the agenda for the next Rapid City Council meeting to discuss this more thoroughly, and I'm going to ask to attend the Public Works Transportation meeting July 10th at 12:30. And what I want to say is that if 3% of the budget is life-threatening concerns and 97% is everything else, we might not necessarily need more money. We just need the priority of what's life-threatening. What people could die because they don't have, that should be for the handicapped disabled rides that Dial-A-Ride gives. It should be that should be number one priority. So I'm asking you as a council, thank you.
Thank you for that. The next speaker request is Derek Wright. First of all, Derek, do you believe you have an item on today's agenda?
No.
Okay.
They just said it to come at the notes said to come to the first meeting, so.
Okay,
here
go
I
ahead
am.
then.
My name's Derek Wright. Good evening. I'm the newest owner of an apartment complex on 10 East Quincy Street. I've got a bill here for some items that were picked up, but I do have an open police case with that piece of property for illegal dumping. I've hauled off, at least 7 or 8 TVs out of there, several mattress sets, 2 refrigerators. I've personally had to glove up and dig through 37 garbage bags up to this point after I put a padlock on the dumpster there. All my residents have keys, so they have access to it. The reason this all come about, evidently, I have the only large dumpster in that area, and it evidently got to be kind of common use for everybody to use it. What was happening, and after it being dumped, within 2 days it was full, and my residents had nowhere to go with their garbage, so we locked it up. Then people just threw it around the garbage dumpster. I did get a bill here from the city through Cricket. The bill has, it's kind of a, I've not seen a bill done this way before, but it had 19 tires on it and debris. But then the 19 tires were crossed out and just TVs were written underneath it. So my question kind of was, am I being charged at the 19 tire price? Because the bill was for $222 to pick up 2 TVs and some debris. My question was, which TVs? I mean, because I've been picking TVs up there pretty regular. You guys know the area. It's mostly rentals in that area, so I'm guessing as people move out, they're just tossing their stuff. Currently, I have, on June 23rd, an entertainment center showed up right out in front in the parking lot. June 25th at 8:28, that's when the mattress and box spring showed up, and there's been a couch there for 3 days. I have now, just today at 4:30, talked to the property owner to the west of me. He's now aware because at least 2 of those items come out of his apartment complex. Phil Pizzeri doesn't live here, but he has somebody taking care of it for him. He told me he'd get in touch with his people here to get those cleaned up. I guess I'm willing to pay the bill. I just want you guys to know what's going on in that area. It's kind of frustrating. I've hauled pickup loads of garbage out of there. So kind of getting a bill for $222 kind of irked me a little bit, but I agree with the policy. You guys are doing a great job. It's proactive. I'm not upset about that. It's just I need some help trying to police that a little bit. So the next step, I've talked to the property owners. Now we're going to have to put a security system in there. Hopefully I can get a license plate number to go with. It's just, that's what's going on in that area if you guys didn't know. So, and why would you? But appreciate it. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now on to non-public hearing items, items 6 through 40, open public comment. There are no speakers for items 6 through 32. So consent items 6 through 32, would the council like to pull any of these items or approve them all with one vote? Timeout. Okay, motion to approve by Lewis and a second by Armstrong. All in favor of the motion to approve, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Takes us to non-consent items 33 through 40. We have a couple of speaker requests on these items. First, on item 34, Vince Vidal.
Good evening. Vince Vidal, 223 Alta Vista, Rapid City, South Dakota 57701. And congratulations, Amanda and Becky. And thank you, Jason and Chad, for your work, your additional work on the council. Really do appreciate all that you've been through. I want to speak briefly to you about something I feel that is very important to our community when we talk about being progressive and we talk about where we want to go in the future. And one of the things that I want to be more specific about is marketing and advertising. When we talk about our billboards, I think the state laws and regulations are clear. I think our staff here on the city has come up with a settlement that is workable and could save us money in the long run. But one of the things that I've spoken out about is that it's not fair to a businessman in the area when they want to start up a business and we want to put a block on it, even though everything they're doing is perfectly legal. And I'm speaking specifically about billboards. We have strong ordinances to prevent abuses of the billboards within Rapid City, and I'm talking about primarily the billboards on the highway. I've had some of my fellow citizens tell me that they're all for businesses as well, you know. But one of the things that they don't mention to me is that I'm not specifically talking about the owner of the billboard. I'm talking about the people that use the billboard. Speaking as an advertising marketing expert, when I was doing marketing here in town, some of the budgets that I had to deal with were very small. And one of the things that they could actually do to get that attention, rather than go with newspapers, radio, television, or the internet, was to grab that attention was to use a billboard. And it worked. I remember doing a marketing job out at Ellsworth Air Force Base. Ellsworth Air Force Base is very uniform, very specific about what kind of advertising and billboards and marketing you can use. Well, one of the things that we did, because we were having a lack of interest in using the base club, was we brought out an old billboard with the kind with the plastic numbers and lettering that you could stick up and make a sign. This was 1999. It got attention, primarily because it was something new. Now, it was an old billboard. Now, we renovated it, we painted it, we made it look nice. But this is 2018, and they still use that billboard. You know, it's a small billboard used on the base. It did not match any of the color coding that they were using at the base, but that's why it got attention. So when I talk about what these billboards are doing for the city and for businesses, I'm not talking about the businessman that owns the billboards. I'm talking about the people that advertise on the billboards. It's a benefit to them. And some of them, the budgets just aren't big enough to buy television at blocks and newspaper page, full-page newspaper ads. So I'd like to see this, the city's recommendation to go forward with settlement on these billboards. Thank you.
Thank you. Now also on item 34, Mike Kwasny.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Councilman. Boy, we had so many great things tonight, huh? The Civic Center Arena, the library, Elevate Rapid City, just some amazing stuff. I think Rapid City is really going in the right direction. I love what Rapid City does. I love this community with all my heart. I would contend, though, we as a community have not committed to our citizens' vote. We just voted on a civic center. We got 66%. 66% was voted on the sign to do something about it, something. We're making changes, not sure they're going in the right direction. The citizens want us to do something. I don't think the city of Rapid City has gone to the state and seen what we can really do. We wait for a sign industry. There's some sign companies, they're at war. They want some space. We're caught in the middle. I don't know if you've looked around, there's a lot of empty billboards. A lot of gray space. The future is changing. We're going to be stuck with these empty spots. What will this sign, as I understand, we're going to allow larger signs to go digital. I think we're hitting into the dark sky initiative. I'm not sure that that's what we really want. We're giving them, I think, too much. I think we need to visit it. I think we need to look. We have not really looked to see what direction we're going. I would challenge you, and yeah, we can say we've had all these different times where we've put together organizations to look at the sign codes. I think our sign code is too big. I think we need to define what we really want in this community. We haven't done that properly. And I think what we're doing with this initiative is going in the wrong direction. And I would challenge you to look at that. Thank you for your time tonight.
Okay, thank you. Also on item number 34, Pat Roseland.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. I came here tonight just to sit, observe, and listen. I did a lot of that. Then I seen 34 on the item agenda, and I wasn't prepared to speak, but I really feel like we're really not watching out for the citizens of Rapid City. I listened to all the businessmen tonight and what they were doing for us to increase the value of life in Rapid City, more businesses, better businesses, higher pay. Yet people come to Rapid City and have to weave through all the billboards. What are we saying to those people? I don't understand why we are doing what we're doing to the city of Rapid City. We're going to have the larger billboards on the interstate, digital. They could probably see us from space. Is that the type of advertising we want? I don't think it's going to work for Rapid City in the end. You know, I've been standing up here many times talking about this same issue, and really nothing's been done other than pat the backs of the billboard companies. They're smiling all the time because they get what they want, no matter what. And I was told before by Jim that it's hard to get people to agree to one thing or to come together in Rapid City because of our independence. And I think we pride ourselves on independence. And then 60% of those people voted against billboards in Rapid City. And then 66% of those just recently voted for the Civic Center in Rapid City. Are we going to basically neglect that 66% also? The people are trying to tell us that we don't want billboards in Rapid City and on the interstate. It's like Johnny Appleseed throwing apples or seeds around the country. They're just popping up everywhere. And they're not going to go. Apple trees die. Billboards will never die. They're going to be there, as I said before, longer than we'll be around. So I just want you to be kind of aware that there are people in Rapid City who do not like billboards and feel that we are being hurt. And as said before, we are doing our best in Rapid City. Somebody mentioned that for Rapid City, one of our talkers today. And I don't think we really are doing the best for Rapid City in this respect. So thank you for listening to me, and I'll come again next time to just maybe listen and observe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pat. And on items 35 and 36, Jim Lettner. And Jim, in addition to whatever you want to say here, we're going to be tackling your item here very shortly, and the council may have questions for you. So if you wouldn't mind.
Would you like me to speak then, or want to take it now?
Say what you want now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will try and make this very brief. I have spoken to most of you. You're familiar with my project. I'm going to go through this real quickly to try and not drag this out too long. This is about the property I own on the corner of East St. Pat and Creek Drive, which I purchased 13 years ago. I spent over $700,000 in improvements to that property. $475,000 of that was in a TIF. The other dollars were spent in constructing East St. Charles Street, bringing in fill over a storm sewer pipe, bringing in utilities to the site. I'm in year 13 of that TIF. I've still got $350,000 left on it. What happened in that period is the city has changed its position on warps. I did everything that the city asked me to do at the time in order to be able to develop the property. They've changed that position. Now I am stuck with improvements to Creek Drive and East St. Charles, or there's a small item of East St. Charles. You know, I understand staff's position is that this happened 13 years ago, The reality is that the city has changed its policy within the last 3 years, and I have learned of that policy within the last 16 months, 17 months. I do believe that I have recourse to the city. I think it's a bad way for the city to do business, to lead me to believe that if I did those improvements, I'd be able to develop the property. My issues aside, taking a step back, there's a bigger problem here, and that is platting adjacent to previously dedicated and improved city streets. What we're doing now isn't working, and it's never going to work. My issues in particular, just to go through them real quickly, I'm expected to put curb on the opposite side of Creek Drive that I even own. Creek Drive, right now the pavement's about 3 or 4 feet off of those people's property lines. It's basically impossible for me to put curb on there without getting a construction easement to construct the curb, to backfill it. I'm also responsible for building approaches into their property. I'm responsible for building a sidewalk on my side of Creek Drive that already exists, because the sidewalk that I'm presuming the city put in is below the street elevation. It's down in the ditch. So I'm expected to tear out that sidewalk, regrade Creek Drive, and then put the new sidewalk in place. There's a requirement for additional pavement, which is confusing in and of itself, because the infrastructure design, or the Creek Drive is an arterial street which requires 36 feet of pavement. There's a city ordinance that says that a developer doesn't have to pay for anything above and beyond a collector street. There's 3 different pavement widths for a collector street. Where this pavement goes, where I'm supposed to put it, it's not even clear. There's a water main issue on Creek Drive. In my opinion, what is tying together is a water main on East St. Pat, one coming down Creek Drive. It's to loop the system. I'm strongly of the opinion that that's a system upgrade. It's not something that I need in order to develop my property. I've been part of loop. I guess I'm out of time. But I'm willing to address the water mains and the streetlight conduits and answer whatever questions you have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and that's all for the speaker requests on these items. Down to item 33 under ordinances, and let's go to our current and almost former legal finance chair, Amanda Scott, for those 2 items.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 33 is the first reading of ordinance number 6263 regarding supplemental appropriation number 4 for 2018. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Chad Lewis. All in favor of approval, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 34 is the first reading, ordinance number 6262, an ordinance amendment to amend certain provisions within the sign code by amending section 17.50.090 of the Rapid City Code, and I yield.
Okay. Motion approved by Roberts and a second by who was that? Laurenti. Okay, we'll go to Lisa Modrick.
Thank you, Mayor. I know that the statements I make today won't be the last. I know that the public statements that have been made now for decades will continue forward. Because as we are making an ordinance to change a piece of a sign code that needs a deeper analyzing review, we're pulling a piece of a puzzle together that's eventually going to make the entire puzzle have problems in the way the rest of it will fit. We're placing disregard to a sign code that's been worked on both by ad hoc committees, by city councils, by people coming to the table from 2007, from the 1990s and before, all the way up to a vote that took place 7 years ago, saying that we do care about what sizing, spacing, and lighting is doing to the city of Rapid City with billboards. We have billboards. We have a lot of billboards. The statement by most citizens is that we have too many. Billboards don't make businesses successful. And new technology is giving businesses another avenue of success. But a billboard doesn't create success. It doesn't create revenue either. So taking our current code with a 250 square foot which is more than reasonable regulation when other communities are shrinking those sizes down and now increasing it to a 672, and then a 40-foot height, when again the people spoke about sizing, spacing, and the height, we're completely putting a disregard to the community of Rapid City and that the way they feel. What we should be doing is protecting the sign code as it exists and probably creating a better one. So this council made a decision to put a settlement down on something that was going through due process. It needed to go through due process. And then an agreement that takes completely the fundamentals out of a code of reasonable regulations. So it is not my opinion, but the opinion of this community based on the 66% of the vote, that we, on a decision tonight based on this, on this motion, is absolutely denying the public what they wish for, and that's that we control, with reasonable regulations, the sizing, the space, and the height of the billboards of which we are approving. They can fit in the sign code. It's built so that it's fair and it's justified. And when we open this up, because we made a settlement agreement with one company, we've opened it up to all companies in all ways, shapes, and forms. And this is just another piece of the puzzle. There'll be more to come. And without staying strong and protecting the rights of this community, we will see this crumble before us over and over again as it has in the past. I wish that this council would stay strong with the current sign code. There's other ways to fix this code, but to just wham-bam an ordinance before us and call it good is wrong. It's a wrong decision, and we are not doing, we're not doing our due diligence with that decision. Thank you.
Amanda Scott.
Thank you, Mayor. I made my comments at Legal and Finance Committee meeting last week, but I'm just going to reiterate tonight just so everyone knows why I'm voting no, and I'll vote no again if it comes before City Council again in 2 weeks. The only reason I'm voting no on this is that I do not believe in legislating from a settlement agreement. And that's what this came forward, and that was my concern when the City Council voted to engage in the settlement agreement with this as part of it. My concern is that when it went through the Planning Commission or if it went through public comment and everything else, that it would be seen as being ordained by the City Council, that this was already approved and it's just going to go through. And when I streamed the Planning Commission meeting, a lot of the discussion at the Planning Commission meeting, those comments were said. So it's already part of the public record that the comment was made, well, the City Council's already approved it, so it's a done deal. And so that's the only reason I'm voting no. I would just assume that we had looked at the ordinance for the sign code and approved it separately or considered it separately, not in conjunction with the settlement agreement. That's the only reason I'm voting no. Thank you.
Becky Drury.
Thank you, Mayor. I also am kind of sad to see the ordinance change based on the push from settling the lawsuit. I wish it would have come about a different way, but because we did settle the lawsuit, I will probably vote for the ordinance. I yield.
Chad Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say, the biggest cliche I know is the definition of insanity being that repeating the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, and that's basically us versus the sign companies in court. We keep losing, we keep spending millions of dollars or whatever it is at this point. We're going to keep losing, and so we've got to get to some point and say, okay, Uncle, yeah, I understand 60% of the people didn't want this 7 years ago, but I also don't think they didn't sign up for the massive expense it is to our taxpayer dollars and our budget to keep fighting this. And, our legal staff probably has a few other things to deal with beyond this issue, and I'm not a big fan of the billboard, but I'm also a big fan of the free market. And I think it's just time we try to at least put one of these to bed at some point. So thank you.
Okay, motion on the floor is for approval. All in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
2 noes? Okay. Motion passes with 2 noes. On to item 35 under Public Works Committee, and we'll go to Public Works Chair Darla Drew.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 35, appeal of denied exception request by Jim Letner to waive the requirement to install water main, additional pavement, curb, gutter, sidewalk, handicap ramps, and street light conduit along Creek Drive, City File 18EX068. Recommendation to approve the appeal of denied exception request failed in committee 2-2 with Nordstrom and Drury opposed.
Lisa Modrick.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to approve the appeal in favor of Letner on number 35. Do we do 35 and 36 separate, Mr. Mayor? Two separate. Two separate, okay. For the item 35.
Second by Chad Lewis.
Thank you. And if I could retain the floor for a short statement.
Yes.
Thank you. Might be my shortest. Just in common knowledge and research and looking at this property, this is the right move to make. We need to get this development going. We need to be fair and balanced on this one. I believe Mr. Letner has done his homework above and beyond the cause of duty, and I look forward to seeing some kind of development in this space. And I don't believe that Creek Drive is a problem that he created, and therefore let's get it back on track with his property and let's get something to happen there. So I appreciate that he's continued the battle, and I hope that we see something going up there very soon if this goes through. Thank you.
Richie Nordstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. Coming from the CIP angle onto this, I'm very concerned about the direction of this procedure. So I'm very concerned about the taxpayers ultimately having to pick up the tab for this whole list of items that are being suggested here for the waiver. And I'm just not comfortable with it for those reasons, but to include that we've been looking for some different angles to address that. So if I may ask a question of the Public Works Director,
sure, and
maybe also Ken Young as well. Dale, I've been looking for some ideas to how to help Mr. Letner along the path of what he wants to do. And during our conversations, we've had some different ideas about, is there a possibility of coming up with a developer agreement, or how does that process work? I'm not sure I totally understand that. If that triggers something, and then since that takes effect, then we do something with CIP. But could you explain to us a little bit more what a developer agreement is?
Certainly. The developer agreement that we use on every project is if there are public improvements required for the development of property. So this is something we enter into with every developer if they're building any sort of infrastructure. So we have a standard agreement approved by City Council that staff administratively enters into if there are any public improvements to be constructed. I think maybe what you're going after is a special developer agreement to include perhaps funding by other entities for these improvements, or perhaps city participation in these improvements. So that would be a specialized agreement. It's not out of the ordinary. I think the city has entered into well, certainly oversized agreements in the past, and likely other types of similar agreements. However, keep in mind funding of those improvements, timing of those improvements all need to be identified at the time that the agreement is developed.
Thank you. If I may, a question to Mr. Young. Ken Young, please.
Yes.
Ken, we've had some conversations about this as well, and talking about the special agreement, that concept, would something like that work for us here in this, to assist Mr. Letner in his development?
I think it could, but I think if there's interest for that it would behoove us to sit down with him and discuss options, what it is that he's looking for, what we can do, what other potential partners could come into play. There's an opportunity there, perhaps.
If I can address him a question, Mr. Letner?
Yes.
Mr. Letner, I've been trying to find your contact information, and I apologize, have not been able to reach you or find you to talk about this particular issue. Does this sound something that would maybe of interest for you so that we can move forward with your project? Because as it is right now, I cannot support what you're requesting for waivers. So if we can work together to come up with a concept of this special agreement, does that make any interest to you at all?
I guess not knowing more about what kind of an agreement we're talking about, maybe even shed some light on that for me. This is an extraordinarily difficult problem. I am fine with doing an assessed project in participating in an assessed project if that's what the city wants to do. I think if we do an assessed project, we have to look at the benefit to the public, the benefit to the property that I own, the benefit to the adjacent property owners. I mean, are we supposed to negotiate this today? I mean, I don't know.
I know we're kind of catching you off guard here, or at least I am catching you off guard on this, but I just haven't been able to get your contact information since this concept came about. And I was just interested if you would not mind delaying this for a couple more weeks so that you can have this conversation with the staff, see if we could come up with a special agreement, because I definitely want to see your project moving forward. But at this point, with the items that you're suggesting, it has to come up from the capital improvements programming, and that's a major concern for me because that ultimately winds up with the taxpayers having to pick up all of this. And so I'm trying to look for a compromise. And I know compromises aren't the best solution for everything, but I would like to get at least a couple of weeks to have that opportunity to have that conversation between you and the staff to see if we could come up with this. Some kind of an agreement. Again, I apologize for putting you on the spot.
Yeah, quite frankly, I do feel like I'm being put on the spot, and I feel like I'm having to negotiate this, and I don't think that this is the appropriate forum to be doing that, quite frankly.
No, I'm just asking to see if you'd be willing to have that conversation. Not to make a decision tonight, that's not what I'm asking. It's just, can we delay this for 2 weeks so you can have that conversation?
Well, I'm going to be out of town in 2 weeks, so I guess the next meeting will be at the first part of August. And sure, I mean, I guess I'm not in a time pinch to do that.
Let's move on.
So, but it'll be the first part of August, and I guess I'd like to have a clear proposal on how we're going to address this.
Thank you. I'll yield.
Yield what?
Yield the floor.
Yeah. Amanda Scott.
Thank you, Mayor. I did stream Public Works on this, and it was a really good discussion, and I've tried to research a lot of the information. I understand where Alderman Nordstrom is coming from, because we need to always look at the projects or any type of infrastructure that needs to go in and what will pay for it. But Mr. Lettner just mentioned one, and I know the City Council has discussed this in the past, and that is actually doing a special assessment for any type of things that have to go forward if we are starting to try to look at other funding sources. And I know we've had a working session, and we're probably going to have some other working sessions with staff and with the City Council talking about how we can go forward, because basically the culture in Rapid City of having these pots of money, whether it's Vision Fund or CIP, the sales tax or whatever, building up funds in order to do a major street project, they've carried us a long way, and they've worked in the past, but money is getting tight, and with all of the other services and all the other activities or requests for money, you know, economic development, we've got some other avenues here that is going to strain our sources of funding even more than it is. So with that said, I didn't want to take up too much time, Mayor. So I just wanted to make those comments. I did review this. I do support staff in maintaining our criteria. That's their job. This issue that's coming before City Council is, in my opinion, a prime example of where the City Council has to weigh the odds of what Mr. Lettner has already put into this project, the time that things have occurred, because over time our criteria does change, and we have to kind of weigh what the property owner has already done versus what staff has to abide by our criteria, and sometimes the city council has to make an exception. Based on everything that I've been able to review, I'm ready to make that exception and vote in favor of Mr. Lettner tonight. So I don't believe we need 2 additional weeks. Thank you, Mr. Lettner, for even considering that. But if the rest of the council wants to make Mr. Lettner wait, I'm not opposed to it, but I think that enough information has come forward that I think we can make a decision tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
John Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I completely agree with Amanda there. I think we should go forward with this tonight. You know, there's a lot of issues to this. One thing I do want to cover is the last time this came across, I abstained for this because I had one of Mr. Lettner's lots under contract, but because he didn't go forward at the time, that $10 million building project went down the toilet. So, you know, hopefully he'll get this built and maybe find something else to go on that property in the future. But I no longer have a conflict on it, so I am going to be voting yes on this tonight. And you know, it's unfortunate because with projects like this, there can be an amount of time between when it starts and when it gets built out. And because we do make a lot of changes on the council, and councils change, and staff changes, and everything changes, what he believes that he signed up for and got involved in over a period of time can evolve. And, you know, we've got to find a way to make that fair to these people that invest. You know, it's not like Mr. Lettner didn't invest a lot of money in Rapid City. You know, $700,000 of your own money into infrastructure, you know, and now 13 years later, that infrastructure's kind of gone down the toilet a little bit, and we're saying, well, now you want to build again, so build our infrastructure for us. That's really, really not fair. And you know, I think there are some legal challenges to it too, because when we're asking developers to put in infrastructure, and they're putting value to the property next to them that they do not own, I think that we really are putting ourselves into a box that could become very expensive for the city of Rapid City. So I think we should move forward on this. I think that he's got a good project that he's bringing forward. You know, one of the issues that I have with Creek Drive is I don't believe Creek Drive should be an arterial street. You know, you think about that, where it comes across on St. Patrick Street, it's going to be difficult to align. We can never align it on 44. So, you know, we've got much better streets that would be better arterial streets, like North Valley Drive, which could go all the way to Northeast North Street and all the way, you know, past Catron Boulevard. So there are good alignments in Rapid City. That's just not one of them. And I think maybe that's something we should look at in our long-term, you know, plan to eliminate that as an arterial street. So anyway, thank you very much, and I am going to be supporting this, and I hope we go forward on it tonight.
Becky Drury.
Thank you, Mayor. When I was at Public Works and then I drove by the property again, I really had some ups and downs on what I thought, because I really agree with Richie Nordstrom that when you take property like this, and if the developer doesn't do it, it ends up on the backs of the citizens, and we all end up paying for it later on in CIP, which I don't think is really fair to the citizens either. And it'd been a long time since the developer had worked on the property, and I always like to follow the rules, the ordinances, because if we don't uphold the ordinances, why should anyone else in town uphold the ordinances? That's kind of our job, is to uphold what's going on in the city, and we should be the role models, not the exception. So I guess after some sidebars here, and I know that these things can be brought about other ways, like we can call the assessments on the sidewalk, we can call the things in that need to be done as they need to be done. I don't have so much angst about it, but I do believe in the long run it's best for the citizens not to have to pay for developers' needs and wants. It should be the developer paying for them, and we should be following the ordinances. But if, again, if the criteria manual is wrong, then it should be changed. We should look at it and change it if it's wrong, or it needs updating, or whatever. If it makes it unduly hard for people to do business in Rapid City, it should be looked at. So I guess I just am going back and forth, but I just kind of wanted to have my say that, you know, I just really am concerned about a lot of these things coming back on the shoulders of the citizens that we represent. I yield.
Darla Drew.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll make it quick. Mr. Lettner did proceed in good faith, although it was a long time ago, but he did follow the regulations at that time. He's also spent almost, in time and money, about $1 million of his own capital on this project. I'm going to vote in favor of the appeal. It's also an infill project, which hits some buttons for all of us, and I think he should be allowed to go ahead and develop this property. I don't think he should have to wait any longer. Thank you.
Jason Solomon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one point I wanted to bring out of Mr. Lettner's comments earlier. This really is highlighting a bigger issue. So I think we're going to deal with his specific issue, but I do appreciate him raising the issue as a whole about how we deal with these things. And I think we have a good group that can move forward and talk about how we are going to address developing these plats that are already kind of developed in a sense, and what we do, because you got to kind of treat these infill development a little differently than we do just a plain piece of ground. I mean, they have different starting points, and so I think that's the bigger elephant to chew on, which we're not going to solve that entire thing tonight, but I think special assessments probably are on the table. But so I just wanted to highlight that as we're dealing with this exception tonight and this appeal, excuse me, but there is a bigger issue at play that I think if you're willing to do the heavy lifting, hopefully we can figure out something that's a little more workable so that we can help Rapid City continue to grow and level up. So with that, I'll yield. Thank you.
Okay, the motion on the floor is to approve the appeal on item number 35. Let's take a vote by roll call, please.
Scott? Yes. Drew? Yes. Nordstrom? Modrick? Yes. Solomon? Aye. Lewis? Aye. Armstrong? Aye. Laurenti? Aye. Drury? Yes. Roberts? Aye. Motion passes 9-1.
Okay, thank you. On to item 36.
Item 36, let's see here. Appeal of denied exception request by Jim Lettner to waive the requirement to install streetlight conduit along East St. Charles Street, City File 1AEX069, sent to council without recommendation. I'd like to move to approve.
Okay, second by Jason Solomon. Okay, seeing no lights, motion on the floor is to approve. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Motion carries with 1 no. All right, continuing on with community planning items. Councilwoman Drew, would you continue, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Item 37, request by Spurla Consulting, Inc. for Market Square LLC for a preliminary subdivision plan for proposed lots 1 through 4 of Market Square subdivision, generally described as being located northwest of the intersection of Creek Drive and East St. Patrick Street. Recommendation is approved with stipulations. I yield.
Okay, motion to approve with stipulations by Scott and a second by Lewis. All in favor of that motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item 38, a request by Spurla Consulting, Inc. for Don Weisler for a preliminary subdivision plan for proposed lots 1A and 1B of Randall subdivision, generally described as being located south of the intersection of Deadwood Avenue and North Plaza Drive. Move to approve with stipulations.
Second. Second by Lisa Modrick. to approve with stipulations. All in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
39, a request by Spurla Consulting, Inc. for Vista Ridge Properties LLC for a preliminary subdivision plan for proposed lots 2A and 2B of Block 2 of Menard subdivision, generally described as being located west of the intersection of East Anamosa and North Creek Drive. Move to approve with stipulations.
Second by Drury. All in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And now this will take us down to public hearing items, items 41 through 56, and no speaker requests. So we'll go on to consent public hearing items 41 through 54. How would the council like to proceed?
Take it as a group.
Okay, motion to approve all of the items by Modrick and a second by Armstrong. And that'll be for items 41 through 54. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 55, under non-consent public hearing items. Second reading, number 55 is second reading ordinance 6258, an ordinance amending section 17.06 of Chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code, a request by KTM Design Solutions for Moeller's Limited Partnership for a rezoning request from General Commercial District to Medium Density Residential District for property generally described as being located northwest of the intersection of La Crosse Street on East Omaha Street, and the committee recommendation was to approve in conjunction with 18 CA 001.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Solomon, and a second by someone. Drury and John Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have to abstain from this item.
Okay. Okay. Motion for approval for 55. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes with one abstention from John Roberts. Item number 56. Second reading, ordinance 6259, an ordinance amending section 17.06 of Chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code. A request by KTM Design Solutions for Franklin Simpson for a rezoning request from General Agricultural District to Light Industrial District for property generally described as being located southeast of the intersection of North Plaza Drive and Rand Road. Recommendation is for approval. Motion to approve by Drury, second by Laurenti. All in favor of approval say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. Motion carries. Item 57, the bill list, and we'll go to Assistant Finance Director Tracy Davis.
There are no additions to the bill list, so the amount presented to you at $7,054,093.62.
Motion to approve by Solomon, second by Laurenti. All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, can we have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Laurenti, second by Solomon. Anyone objecting? We're adjourned.